Okay, so let's talk about the first part of the pyramid. How would you advise someone to get a better understanding of themselves?
Yeah, I like the question because I actually think growing up I didn't have a good sense of myself. Um, because like I was a very self-conscious kid. And I don't think it was misparenting by my parents. I think it was one, the way I was wired, but also because of the environment around me. Like I went to a private school in New Jersey from third grade to 12th grade. And I was one of the youngest people in my grade. My graduating class was 120 people. And most people were a year older than me. They had been held back. And I think a function of me not having mental maturity, um, people above me just being more developmentally, socially, I always had this self-consciousness of asking myself, am I cool enough? Do I actually belong in the group? Do girls like me? Am I smart enough? And I think what exacerbated this was the age difference. It was also the fact that I went to the school where it was like, the average student at the time, SATs were 2,400. Like the average student got a 2,250 and also a scholarship to Yale for soccer. And so like that was the comp for me. And and so I did not have a good sense of myself because like I did not feel like I belonged. I did not feel like I was cool or handsome. And I think part of, what gave me a sense of myself was finding a group of people that I truly liked because I liked them, not because I thought the outside world perceived them as like the cool group of people to like. So like I found that in college, which I think was huge for me. I think also totally changing my surrounds, like almost like not being in this vicious cycle of being with the same people for 9 straight years. This new context, I think, helped me a lot. And then I think it was wins that gave me momentum, right? Like in high school, I was just like I was an average player on the soccer team. I was an average student. At Michigan, it was like I started getting really good grades. I got into the business school. I got a great internship. I got a girlfriend. And those things, it's in a weird way because I had been wired by I think my young years to require external validation for a sense of self. I actually needed external things to validate me, right? Like those were all external things, me getting into the business school, me getting a girlfriend. But it was those external wins gave me a sense of momentum where I got a sense of myself. I actually think I'm still looking to have the best sense of myself. And the next transition I hope to make is where it's sense of self driven by external validation to sense of self driven by internal validation. I don't think I fully made that journey yet. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. And so to your original question, how can you find a sense of self? Honestly, I think I actually don't know how to teach that. I think I'm sure there is a way. I'm sure there are exercises you can do early in life with children or kids in middle school or high school to be less focused on what others think and more focused on the things you're doing and the joy you get out of it. I don't know what those things are right now, but all I can talk about is my experience, and my experience was time and mental maturity and growth and a new context and a group of people that I actually liked and felt supported by that I think acted as the foundation for me to feel a sense of self. And again, I'm still on that journey, but I feel like I went from no sense of self to sense of self through external validation. And I hope to get to a place where it's sense of self through some combination of external and internal validation. Because I don't think it's realistic for most human beings on planet Earth to had to have their sense of self exclusively driven by things that internally validate them.
How are you planning on closing that gap?
Um, I think one way is is through, this is a Cat Cole adage, but diversifying your purpose portfolio. And what I mean by that is Morning Brew has been my identity for the last 6 years, like 95% of it. And I think what I always assumed is it has to be my whole identity if I'm fully in the business, like if I'm more committed than ever before. And I think that was just like a fallacy that I convinced myself of. I think I can be 100%, 110% in the business, motivated, doing better than ever before, but only have my purpose portfolio be taken up, 25% by Morning Brew. And so I think one of the ways I do this is finding kind of the other parts of this portfolio that make me feel whole, that aren't driven by subscriber numbers, revenue numbers, social media, following. Like those are all external validators. And to me, what I think about is what are the parts of my purpose portfolio that the one metric is my feeling of joy and not any metric that exists outside of my body. So it's like if one part of my purpose portfolio becomes giving or becomes community service, like one thing I'm really passionate about is how do you find a way to end homelessness in New York City? It's like if I start spending a lot of time on that, if the thing that makes me feel fulfilled about that is the work that I am doing on this journey to try to end homelessness, and I don't feel motivated to post it on social media, virtue signal at all, like I will know that is one part of my purpose portfolio that is kind of being guarded by external validation.
It's so interesting that you mentioned not posting about it, because I was watching a video yesterday where someone was saying how the amount of time someone posts about their relationship on Instagram is correlated negatively to the actual love in the relationship. And I don't know if that's true. I just thought it was really interesting, and it touches on exactly what you're talking about,
Yeah,
which
and
is
it's an interesting point you bring up, right? Because literally today on Instagram story, I posted a picture at my sister's birthday dinner of me, my sister's boyfriend, my mom, and my girlfriend. And as I posted that, I asked myself, why am I posting this? I asked myself, am I posting this because I want others to see this? Am I posting it because I view Instagram as my life's time capsule? Am I posting this because I think it's a really good picture and I don't give a shit, I just want to post it? And I think it's a hard answer, right? Because if I think I'm being totally emotionally or intellectually honest with myself, there's some part of me in there, like what, and I think most people just wouldn't admit this, but there's clearly some part of me that is adding it to my Instagram story because I care about other people seeing it, right? Otherwise, I would just have a shared iPhoto album with my family doing that. And so I asked myself that exact question today, why I did that. And I don't know if that's going to change my behavior in a meaningful way moving forward, but I do think it's really important to ask that question to yourself.
how do you get the self-awareness that you clearly have?
Um, I think I genuinely think like self-awareness is a very difficult thing to teach. I I think I think most things are teachable. I think self-awareness, it I think you can teach it through mindfulness, where by making sure people um, are not letting life happen to them, but they are experiencing life and they're experiencing it on their terms at their speed, such that they have the space to ask questions or to be observant without judgment. I think that's one way. I think the other way is like I I um I recently posted a thread on independent thinking, and I think one of the greatest ways you can be an independent thinker is also one of the greatest ways you can be self-aware, which is asking why. Like the more you can ask why you're doing something or why someone's experiencing something that way, the more you can, I think, be really honest with yourself about what drives your decisions, the way you interact with people, right? So it's like, even, if I got in an argument with my girlfriend and in the moment, I'm like, she's wrong. She's wrong. I did all these things. But then a moment later, if I ask myself, why did that actually just happen? Why did I react in this way? Why did my brain default to blaming her? Oftentimes, I think what you realize by asking the question why, just like there aren't many right answers in life, there are just trade-offs of many possible right answers. I think you find the same thing in like social situations or emotional feelings, is that there's this T table of pros and cons or plus and minuses or, happiness and frustration. And so I think by asking why, it forces emotional and intellectual discovery, and it forces you to take the time to do that.